Eze, as we wrap up with the last question. Salud.
All right, we're good. We're good now. We're good. That was it.
You're
making
amazing B-roll. That's all I have to say.
Woo! Hi, my name's Eze Redwood, class of 2006. And it's great to host you all in my beautiful city, Kansas City. I always loved tennis. So tennis is always going to be at the center of my heart. Rugby, I did rugby in college, of course. Rugby, when I have the best health insurance possible is a hobby. When I have high deductibles, that goes out the door. I really just like learning. I like trying to make a change, especially social changes. So thus far, that's been my hobby.
So you talked a little bit about tennis and rugby back at Williams. So are there any sports right now you're doing? Are you still doing tennis here in KC, or are you just locally just trying to focus on staying alive?
I do tennis. Depending on who you ask, they may or may not say I play tennis still. So, there's a lot of things that fall off, really quickly. Your serve, I think, is the first one to go. So, I do tennis still.
Who's your favorite tennis player?
I gotta go with Serena. She just guts out so many wins, and she's such a dominant force. And her biceps are now bigger than my calves. So what I do for work is a little complicated for me. It's not quite as linear as with, I'm sure a lot of people that you talk to. I think there's a lot of Williams, alum who are probably, the same, where, we're really driven by a mission. And that mission may be to change the world through biotech, or it might be, to, help, equal the equation for immigrants. Whatever our driving, kind of motive is, that then impacts everything else that we do. And I think I'm similar in that way, in that for me, I like building things. And so, I am a VP of the marketing firm. Here, we have a pretty broad range of clients, ranging from, fairly well-known entities to, mom and pop gyms, and everything in between. Because we feel like everyone needs to have an equal chance to connect with their audiences. And there are, just because a business makes more or less than one another doesn't impact the value of that business. And there doesn't mean their story isn't worth telling. Also, my family and I, my brothers and I, we have a restaurant, a couple restaurants. We do wings, artisan wings, so we will just take risk with wings and fish and inventing different sauces and flavors. So, next month it might be a cotton candy wing, and this time last year I think it was an espresso chocolate barbecue wing. But we just take risks, and we try to make people happy. Because in our minds, wings equals happiness. So it's our way of giving back to the world.
So I'm gonna ask again a little bit. I've known you obviously since college, and you've worn so many hats. You've been an entrepreneur in many ways since the undergraduate days. And so my question really is following up: where do you find the energy and your inspiration, the spark that drives you to be engaged in such a way here in your community?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things I feel is that, sometimes we're pressured to feel like we have to pick something and do it. And we have to be really good at that one thing, pick that career, make money and ride off into the sunset with a white picket fence. I really would like to redefine what success means, to be, are you doing the best job possible? Are you doing all that you can to be the best at something, right? And this is something that I wish the school would really lean into as well. rather than say, okay, so, you know, money is a way to value, you know, your worth, or, you know, your ability to pay off student loans, you know, saying, you know, having the measure of your success be, are you close to being the best at a field, and are you in a position to redefine some aspect of that field, right? Regardless of whether that's quilting or, you know, wings or, you know, banking or whatever it may be, like, but taking away that component of what sector it is and the, you know, all of the, you know, implications that come with that, and really focusing on, are you striving to be the best? Are you putting yourself in a position to be the best? And are you putting yourself in a position to, you know, push that industry or sector forward and redefine what that means for them? So, you know, that's kind of my inspiration. It's how can I make as big of an impact as possible, you know, for as many people as possible, and at the same time, like, do a great job, you know, at what I'm doing, and redefine something. Whether it's redefining what wings is and what flavors are for wings, or, you know, fish or any other things at the restaurants, or whether it's redefining for, you know, smaller businesses, you know, who have a great product, great potential, and are creating a new way of doing something or change, like how they connect to their customers through Lillian James Creative. So for me, that's what drives me, is enabling those who want to change their sector in the world, and also like trying to do so myself a little bit. That's a great question. My community in KC is, you know, I would say, you know, I identify with African Americans, of course, but just, you know, ethnic minorities in general. I think that they have a long way to go to be in a position to realize the success that they're capable of. And some of that is self-imposed, a lot of it isn't. You know, and so I work really hard to create strategies that help, you know, get us significantly closer to that point where they're able to realize their full potential. So that's kind of what some of the community work that I do revolves around. On the other side, I think that one of the biggest potential drivers for our success as a country is small business, whether it's entrepreneurs, startups, small businesses, you know, in the traditional sense, whatever it may be. And I think that as a country, we've significantly undervalued them, and we don't relate that entrepreneurship to economic development. And so for me, like, I'm on a mission to create a template here for what, you know, for how we can consider, you know, the small business economic development, because they're anchoring in developing neighborhoods. They're employing people that may not be able to get jobs at corporations. A lot of corporations still have credit checks. So you have really smart people who can't get a job because they don't have an 800 credit score, right? For jobs that aren't finance related even, and especially. And so for me, I think that there's a lot of disconnects right now between the opportunities and the people who can fulfill those, and on the other side, between who's creating additional opportunities and how we're supporting them. And I don't think we're doing a good job at either of those at the moment. And so you know, my community engagement revolves around, you know, supporting entrepreneurship and supporting equality in opportunity. You know, going to Williams, I felt like the biggest thing it gave me was the ability to think through problems from multiple perspectives and think really critically and really abstractly about the problem. So, you know, I think that that's something I haven't necessarily seen others that I work with do, you know, with regularity at least, being able to deconstruct what's in front of me and then put it back together in a way that, you know, maybe it could potentially be better than it was before. So I really, you know, of course, everyone has their qualms. They also have their things they loved and their, you know, favorite memories. But for me, I'd say the biggest thing that really impacted who I was, you know, being able to attack problems from a perspective that most people I've noticed haven't been able to do so. So for me, that's the biggest thing. It's how you think through issues and problems, not so much the what.
It's that critical thinking. It's such a hard thing always to explain to folks. Well, so what makes the special sauce? And there really isn't a perfect recipe. If there was, I actually think that loses it. It's kind of a contradictory notion in itself, but that's an aspect that in many ways that comes through.
And honestly, one of the things I'd say is that I've seen people who are just trained for one thing, like accounting, or just trained for another thing, like, whatever it may be. And, I think that's valuable for some people. However, I know that for people who really want to be game changers and single-handedly impact the world around them, you've got to be good at different things and have exposure to different things, because you never know when you're going to need it, right? There's been times where I've, I helped some friends start a mask company, face mask company, N99 and N95 masks at the beginning of the pandemic when there was a shortage. And part of what I had to do was read through the research that was just starting to come out of places like Hong Kong and understand the virus, so that I could understand how we could be more effective in both the product side and in the marketing side, and explaining it to hospital directors, right? And so those Kim classes that I had to take, right, actually came in handy. Who knew it would take 15 to 20 years, but it was extremely helpful, and I understood more about it than most people who were even in the profession at that time, because I had a few different lenses I could look through it. And creative writing, right? I wasn't an English major, but all of those things have played a role in how I've gotten to where I am. And I think that for people who really want to make an impact, they're at some point going to need to lean on some of each of those skills. To the point where they can be successful in all of the things it takes to accomplish a broader goal. I think making change, creating change brings me joy. Building things brings me joy. And knowing that I've impact others and like there's like that small part of pride that's like also doing things that maybe not everyone can do, just like super honestly probably brings me a little bit of joy as well. If I had to write a thank you note, I think it would be to whoever the admissions officer was who stuck their neck out and took a chance on this kid named Eze from Little Rock, Arkansas, right? I definitely wasn't the cookie cutter type, Williams person. Barry Foley actually gave me hope when at the pre-freshman, he was like, hey, you don't have to have a perfect score on your SAT. I was like, you don't? He's like, and the school pays for, parties. I was like, they do? He was like, yeah, just explain it all to him. And I was like, I will, right? And I did. And fortunately it worked out and they took a chance on me, all right? But I think that was really transformative. I've seen other people who were smarter than me in high school maybe come out of their college experience not as well-rounded or not as able to navigate the challenges that life throws at you. And so for me, that was something that really changed my trajectory, And going up to New England, if I hadn't done that, I would never know what butternut squash was. That's a whole thing in and of itself. I didn't know. They don't serve butternut squash in Arkansas.
On that note, I want to thank you for taking your time to sit down with us and adding your voice to this project. It would be really inspiring for many alums, young alums, and students to hear these voices and these experiences. Are there any other last notes you'd like to share, just in general, anything that for other Ephs in the community?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I was in school, I was so focused on I had to make money. I had to, you know, do all the things that people view as, you know, having a successful career. And I wish that I would have known. And I'd like to tell the, you know, the current Ephs and future Ephs, as well as the admissions offices and career offices, that, you know, instead of thinking about cookie cutter templates for, you know, who would make a great, let's say, investment banker or, you know, physician, you know, it would be great if the school really leaned into the problem solving that they teach students and help them to understand that success is being the best at something, whatever that passion may be. And they're going to work harder. And if you're a student, you know that, like, you work harder on whatever you're passionate about. Like, if you're in Sankofa or a gospel choir or one of the a cappella groups or in a sport, like, you are doing, you know, way more effort, and it doesn't feel like effort because it's your passion. And so that, to me, should really start to define success and what success both looks like and is. And at the end of the day, if you do all of the work that's required to be the best in your passion, then it will monetize and you will get rewarded for it. You know, the best, you know, crocheters, you know, get paid. You know, the best, you know, discus throwers, rug makers, quilters, they all are doing very okay because they stay in their sweet spot and they really focus on how to be the best at their craft or their skill or their passion. And then they networked to have a broad enough group of people around them to help them understand the trends and how to get in front of the trends and lead trends. And to me, that, whether it's, again, biotech or tech, I had a tech startup at one point, or whether it's, you know, something like therapy, you know, if you're the best, and I think people should strive to be the best at what they're passionate about. And if you do that, the money side and everything else will work itself out. So that's what I'd like to encourage both our career center to think about, is identifying what students are passionate about, what their skills are, and then matchmake to what, you know, where those intersect. And on the student side, I'd say if you're a student, think about what you love doing and try things out. You're not gonna like some of the things that you thought you would, but you don't know until you try it, and you wanna try it before you graduate, right? Because then you're kind of stuck, like it's harder to change. But if you get out and make the sacrifices required to, you know, find out if you really love something before you graduate, it's so much easier to shift out of it or lean into it and really have an advantage over everyone else that's maybe undecisive or just doing it just because that's what they're supposed to do. So that would be the thing I would implore for students to think about and for admissions and career departments to really lean into. I love my Williams people. I never let them go.
All right, I think that's fine. Perfect.
As you love the Ephs.